hucksters, fraudsters, scam artists, Ponzi schemes, the public being left in line at the bankruptcy courts. We've seen this story before.
What's going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing all right today. There is so much to talk about what has been going on in the markets. The SEC, 13 allegations against Binance. Then the next day, they go after Coinbase. Then Robinhood is delisting tokens, and we're seeing the altcoin apocalypse right now. Huge losses, over 37% in 7 days for Polygon, right? Because like I said, that was getting delisted off of things like Robinhood. So investors are scared. Institutions don't want to touch it. So is the US literally actually trying to kill crypto, or is it just Gary Gensler being a bad actor, right? Because, for example, you can actually see over here, it says, and I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff today, guys. We're going to put the charts at the end. You can see it says SEC Chair Gary Gensler says the U.S. doesn't need cryptocurrency. Shortly after the U.S. filed its lawsuit against Coinbase, Gensler said that the crypto industry's entire business model is built on non-compliance. We don't need more digital currency. We already have digital currency. It's called the U.S. dollar. It's called euro. It's called yen. They're all digital. And what's crazy is if we come over here, Rand Neuner put this tweet out that said the U.S. just banned altcoin trading. They did it in a way that wouldn't cause an uproar. They didn't make any announcements or even go through Congress. They used the SEC as a tool to regulate through enforcement. Now, it's interesting, if you actually look down here, readers added context to this by saying the U.S. has not banned altcoin trading in any way. The SEC's complaints identify coins they consider to be securities but have not been tested or tried in court. So what we're going to talk about today is everything that's been going on, everything that you need to know. Is there really, truly a threat of crypto truly dying in America, like Chamath Palihapitiya had said? And where do we go from here? So if that sounds good, you know what to do. If you're not subscribed, definitely consider it. We're going to dive in. We're going to have a look at what is going on. And of course, guys, like I said, we will do the TA at the end of the video today leading into the week. It's probably going to get pretty crazy come Monday. So as you can see, there was that clip at the beginning of the video, and essentially this would kill crypto in America. Now, Brian Armstrong has talked about his relationship, or should I say his non-relationship, with Gary Gensler, and this is just what he was commenting on trying to contact this guy. Why Gensler can't answer whether or not Ethereum is a security. It almost seems a bit intentional. Now, obviously, you've seen the backlash. You've seen, some are fighting them. Coinbase is fighting them, right? And they say that Congress is going to have to get involved. And they also said in that interview in another part, which I didn't play, he said that Congress wants to figure this out. It really is the fact that you have the SEC versus the CFTC, right? In a lot of other countries, they only have one regulator when it comes to finances, but in the US we have two. So there's this constant tug and pull and battle over jurisdiction, right? And this has led companies like Coinbase to say, you know what, we're going to stand up, we're going to fight this, we're going to take it to court, so we have something to work with. But then on the other hand, you have apps like Robinhood that are just like, okay, and they delisted Cardano, they delisted Matic, and they delisted Solana, which is why, we saw these insane red, over the past, look at this, 37% for Polygon, 37%, Conflux, EOS 25, Aptos 35, Chili's 33, Solana 30. So these are some of the largest losses that we've seen in quite a long time. But what's interesting is if you actually look at the 7-day for Bitcoin's only actually down 5.5%, because Bitcoin is the only one that the SEC pretty much says is a commodity. Or I don't know, are they going to come out and change their tune on that, as well later? Who actually knows? But Crypto.com, they've paused their U.S. institutional trading services, right? And, getting back to what I was saying with Brian Armstrong, people are realizing that we are going to push this innovation offshore, and members of Congress do not want this to happen. It's not like the U.S. is trying to just actively ban crypto. There is clearly some type of manipulation or something in the back. Who knows? Maybe Gary's probably, in bed with the bankers. I wouldn't be surprised, right? The banks are the ones that are threatened by this, and the banks are the ones that if you want to be part of the cool kid club, you want to be part of the bankers, right? Then you have to hate crypto. But there are a lot of people like Custodia, which is trying to stand up, trying to make it easier to bank with cryptocurrencies. And you guys got to see this. Look at how absolutely scripted this is, right? Listen to him talking. I think this was over on CNBC. And look at him. Every time he says something, he looks down at the paper, right? He looks down at the paper. It's just a totally scripted circus.
Hucksters, fraudsters, scam artists, Ponzi schemes, the public being left in line at the bankruptcy courts. We've seen this story before.
So let me ask you this then. Back when Gary Gensler gave this speech back in 2019 and he was talking about his buddy who had Algorand, well, that coin is now down 90%. So should he be held responsible? I mean, if Kim Kardashian and all these other guys are getting fined $250,000, $400,000 for promoting Ethereum Max and all these other things, does Gary Gensler not fall in the same category? Is he not an influential person? Should he not have talked about it?
So governance is tough. You could create Uber or Lyft on top of a blockchain technology today. Well, maybe in 5 years you could. It would have the performance. Sylvia McCally's Algorand, who's a Turing Award winner at MIT that I work with. Sylvia's got a great technology that has the performance. You could create Uber on top of it. The question is then who would update the software?
And the virus has continued to spread as Coinbase has been hit with pending cease and desist orders from 11 states. These include California, Illinois, Kentucky, Maryland, New Jersey, South Carolina, Vermont, Washington, Wisconsin, and Alabama for violating security laws. Now, I think this is crazy. Staking on Ethereum, I don't see how the investor is not being protected. But anyway, so, obviously it's spreading and it's only getting worse. And I fear for what's going to happen in the US. I genuinely do. I know that in the long term, everything is going to be fine. I have no doubt about that. I totally believe that. It's just the same way that they just over-regulate. Okay, you guys know I play pinball. There's this movie that came out, Pinball, the Man Who Saved the Game, or whatever it's called. And it literally is about how pinball was illegal for 30 years. And New York said that it was a game of chance. And he basically went in front of a hearing of people and showed that it was a game of skill. He was like, I'm going to hit this target. I'm going to hit this. I'm going to get this, right? And it's just hilarious now thinking that for 30 years, New York had a ban, and a few other places, on pinball machines, right? That's what I think we're looking at right now. Is crypto the same as pinball? No, it's not. But I just think in 10 years' time, it's going to look absolutely silly the way that this industry is essentially being treated right now, right? But on the good news, guys, Cathie Wood is still bullish. In our Big Ideas 2023, it's on our website. You'll find our digital asset forecast. So we expect the Bitcoin price. Our base case is 600,000 plus. Our bull case is more than $1 million. And I think as time goes on...
What's the timeline for that, Cathie?
2030. 2030.
Meaning if we went back and looked 2 or 3 years ago, conversations, you would have talked about Bitcoin being much higher, I imagine, than $26,000, right? Are you disappointed in where things are? And is that change?
Oh, in fact, something really important happened very recently during the regional bank crisis. If you will notice, the regional bank stocks were imploding and Bitcoin went from 19,000 up to roughly 30,000 I got to. So what was that? That was a flight to safety. A flight to safety. Think about that. But the reality is if you look at charts of percentage of crypto traded in the US a couple of years ago versus now, you'll see that it's about half the percent for the US that it used to be. I believe US used to be somewhere up in the 40%. Now we're somewhere down in the 20%, which means the majority of crypto activity is starting to move offshore. And it's not only that, but people are waking up to the fact that these banks are not what they say they are, right? We're realizing that the banks are actually the ones who we should be paying attention to. They worry about users' funds and tokens on crypto exchanges, but those tokens are actually there, backed one for one, right? If I send you $100 in USDC, you get $100 in USDC, right? Or 1,000 or 1,000,000, right? But if you go to your bank and you have 300 grand or whatever, or you have a lot of money in the bank, say you have $1 million in the bank, and you try to pull that $1 million out, it's not there, right? Fractional reserve banking, but it's okay when they do it, right? And, you can see right here, the chief executive of $5.61 billion private investment firm, Soros Fund Management, warns that the crisis in the banking sector is not over. Dawn Fitzpatrick, the CEO, says more bank failures are in sight, and she believes the embattled sector is just going to basically continue to crumble. I think you're going to see more bank failures likely in the smaller banks, so it's not really going to be something that necessarily hits the news, right? Maybe we won't hear about it, but again, what is this going to do? Well, if the small banks continue to fail, it's only going to make the bigger banks more powerful. And then what happens? We only have 4 banks, 3 banks, 1 bank, right? How crazy is this actually going to get in the US? And you could see right here that countries are ditching the dollar. China declares support for massive BRICS expansion as countries push to challenge the US dollar. BRICS has made waves this year, figuring out whether to launch their own gold-backed currency or not in an attempt to challenge the US dollar status as the world reserve currency. According to the BRICS African ambassador, a total of 13 countries have now formally requested to join the group. And, you know, at the same time, you have billionaire Ray Dalio saying the US is entering a debt crisis as countries face shortages of treasury buyers. So ultimately, guys, it is, for lack of better words, a shit show. That's basically what's going on right now in the US. And I do think it's going to be one of those scenarios in which it is going to look silly in the future. I don't necessarily know what's going to happen. It could get a little bit rough moving forward. So, you know, obviously don't want to be a downer, but let me just do let me do this super quick. We can have a look right here. So not too much has changed, guys. We have fallen out of this main parallel channel. We have not broken this upward sloping trend just yet. And we did perfectly now have three retests over here on the daily for the $25,300 level, which, guys, I've literally been talking about this level for a very, 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 very long time. And the interesting thing is, as you've seen the altcoins dumping, you actually see Bitcoin dominance at the highest levels since around April of 2021. So this is the highest we've seen this in a very, very long time. And again, we are still on the upward sloping trend. If we do break down, then yeah, the next level would be around 21,000. But ultimately, if we do find enough support on this level, like I think we should, unless some catastrophic news comes out, then for the most part, you're still looking at a possible retest of 31. The only downside is that you can see we keep getting held down right here by this parallel channel. So that's a scary drop. Losing this main support brings us all the way down to the heart line. And that's when you're looking at that potential retest of a double bottom or something like that. But I'm not going to start getting crazy yet. We did come all the way to the bottom of this EMA ribbon. But what I don't like is that for the first time in a very, very long time, guys, this ribbon is actually starting to flatline and potentially curve to the downside. That is not good. That is not good, because if that happens, then that could be bad for Bitcoin, right? So we will keep an eye on it. But all of the major long-term signals, long-term indicators are pointing towards a continuation, and we're very, very low, obviously, from the all-time highs. And you can see that we are still upward sloping trend. And right here, you can see that the stocks have actually broke above this very critical level, although it did top out at this right here. So right now, guys, we're in a lot of interesting areas for crypto. Stocks are in an interesting area. The regulatory landscape is in an interesting area. It's not really fun, to be honest with you. It's kind of killing crypto. It's making it it's basically what they wanted to do, right? They wanted to scare people to essentially not invest in cryptocurrencies. That's literally what they wanted to do. They said that with their own mouth. So we'll see if it works. I think at the end of the day, people will wake up. And, eventually we have these younger generations, right? We have millennials, we have Gen Z. And, if the older generation, they don't want to accept it, they don't want to understand it, then, at some point they're just going to get, taken out of office by other more innovative, forward-thinking people who realize that cryptocurrency is literally the future. It's not going away. It's going to be everywhere. So you should really just give clear regulation on how to regulate it. And even though that Gary says that there is clear regulation, he literally just keeps repeating the Howey test, the Howey test, the Howey test. The Howey test was literally over 100 years ago, and it has nothing to do, or the Howey test, actually, I'm sorry, the Howey test, I think, no, it wasn't 100 years ago. The SEC was formed 100 years ago. But point being, guys, you're talking about laws that were created before digital assets. You can't say that the way that we look at like stocks and commodities like corn and wheat or Apple stock is the same thing as Bitcoin, Ethereum, digital currencies. You need to go back. Congress needs to do something. And I'm telling you guys, sooner or later, the SEC I think it's going to end badly for them. I think they may have a few small victories. Maybe they win the Ethereum staking cases and stuff like that. But I think long term, this is going to absolutely destroy the American public's faith in the SEC, and I wouldn't even be surprised to see them get dissolved and completely restructured. So that's ultimately it for me today, guys, and I wanted to let you know that the Engrave, it's official. You can use the link below. I'm pretty sure it works, but if it doesn't, when you're checking out, you can enter the code CryptoZombie and you'll get 10% off if you want to use these hardware wallets, all right? So that is officially up and running. It's officially going. So that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. Hope you're having a great day. If you do want to learn how to trade, you can watch these tutorials popping up right here, right now. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.